Bird's Rhythm 93.7 Potaka. This, of course, is the Morning Drive. I have with me in the studio a gentleman who is a man of many feathers.
Eduardo Essien.
Yes, Eduardo Essien. I like it. So why the Eduardo, if I may ask? Your parents did that or you came up with it?
Okay, at some point I was given the option to actually do a name change. They gave me the old book. I said it must start from E.
And end with O.
So I saw Eduardo and just fell in love with it.
Okay. Eduardo Essien is a video editor and 2D animator. Okay. Is it easy for someone who is a 2D animator to grow into 3D? Is it something that is easy?
Yes, actually, it's actually even the best if you actually have knowledge in animation whatsoever. Because it's basically the same, just a little bit. Okay, the way I can describe it is, imagine 2D is like drawing on a piece of paper. Then 3D is like molding or sculpting. Then you're now moving it like a ragdoll kind of.
Okay.
So once you have that knowledge of, okay, every 2 seconds I move the character's hand or eye, it translates to both 2D and 3D. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to be talking about video editing today. And so let me just start by asking Eduardo, what is video editing? To me, I know what it is, but I don't know what it is. Because social media has scattered things. Now phones, before it used to be camera, one big Panasonic camera, hey, and then you go to one suite and be cutting things. What is video editing, please, sir?
So basically, video editing is basically modifying a video to match like its intended purpose. So it doesn't need to be anything crazy. It can just be simply cutting it into 2 or into 3. But you can also, like, if it's too bright, you can reduce the brightness. If it's too dark, you can increase it. The saturation, all of that.
Okay.
Then also video editing, actually audio editing is kind of part of video editing. Because for instance, if you're working on a movie or just a video, a skit,
okay,
to say, if there's a background noise, you're filming a skit, Ajebo, House of Ajebo, a trailer just passes by, you have to fix that. So video editing kind of encompasses both audio and video editing actually. But if you want to focus on just the video, you can do that, but they expect you to have a broad knowledge of video and audio editing, where you cut the clips together, you work on the brightness, etc.
Okay, so how do you determine the level of brightness? Is there a one size fits all in terms of it has to be this bright or that bright?
There's none actually. Kind of, it's your, if you have a director, if it's your personal project, you eyeball it. If it's you have a director, he's the one who decides all of that. Basically, it's the client that decides all of that.
Okay, what if the client doesn't know?
Then you decide for them. But no, obviously, there's a general consensus. Like when you see, just like staring at a light bulb. Obviously, there's a general consensus when you're getting too close or you're too far. So you can determine whether it's too bright or it's too dark just by looking at it.
What is the difference between saturation and brightness?
So saturation, basically, it's a bit complex, but it has to do with like color overlays also. There's a little bit like exposure, let's just say exposure.
Okay.
For instance, if we're looking at this room, when you're talking about saturation and brightness is simply the fluorescent is high or is low.
Okay.
But saturation, there can be like a little bit of a dark spot. It's obvious that there's a dark spot there. Everywhere is still bright, but it can now intensify just that dark spot. I don't know if for a layman, I'm trying to bring it down to a layman.
Yes.
That is basically.
You see, so basically someone has to go to school for this.
No.
Or learn under be mentored by someone.
Back then, yes, but right now, no. Because the funny thing is, you don't even need to pay a dime to get into video editing.
No.
Yes, everything right now, channels like Medium, like YouTube, they're actually begging you to come and learn for the views. You see like series up to like 20 hours like worth of videos teaching you how to edit, how to work on captions, how to cut out, maybe you don't need an object in your shot, how to cut it out, all sorts of videos like that, tutorials.
On YouTube.
YouTube alone. Free to watch. All they want is the watch hours. And
you'll be good if you're able to learn from that. You'll now be able to do professional jobs.
Yes, you will. Very professional. They even live like they actually like. In my personal opinion, I feel YouTube actually struggles with other sites like Udemy. Like seriously, because there are some people on YouTube. you see they leave the project file. You know, just the way Udemy, you have a course. They'll leave, maybe they use a shot, they keep it in there in a zip file or something. You can download it from either Google Drive or etc.
Yeah.
YouTube actually does the same. Many creators, they leave the project file, they leave the links to fonts that they use. They leave everything for you to use that you need for the tutorial.
Just wow.
All for free.
All for free.
Yes.
So why are we complaining that there are no jobs now?
No, I think the main issue right now is saturation. You know, just like before, the giants of YouTube now started a long time ago. It's a bit harder now to kind of get famous on YouTube because now everything you're doing, 1,000 people are doing it. So I think it's not the issue of no job, but the issue of too many people to fill up those jobs. So you apply for a job, you're not the only one applying for it. Back then, maybe there were 10, 20, 50. Now almost 1,000 people are applying for that same job. So it's not a matter of, because the knowledge now is accessible to everybody. Everyone who knows where to find it. So it's not a matter of no jobs, although yes, in some cases no jobs, but it's often a matter of too many people vying for that same job you're going for.
Okay. So in your own, since you're in this fair now, do we have too many video editors in town, or we don't have enough?
In terms of just people who can do the baseline editing, yeah, we have quite a lot. But in terms of like quality, there are not too many.
Okay.
So that's just basically because there are a lot of people you see, they know how to do like the basic, like, okay, I have 2 videos, I want to merge them together, or I want to move this to the beginning, I want to move this to the end. You can do that.
Transitions, all that.
Exactly. The basic, not even that they'll create their own custom one, they'll just drag the presets there and use it. But when I start mentioning stuff like, okay, like I just said something now, a little bit, not so advanced, but a little bit, noise removal.
Yeah.
A lot of people can do that.
Okay.
A lot. But it's actually something that is very simple to do if you just take the time.
Take the time. So let's talk about software and tools. Which ones did you start with, and what software do you currently use, and why?
Okay, I actually started with Premiere Pro and After Effects.
Okay.
And to this day, I still use those because they are very nice. But those are those two, they're actually very complex. So when people want to start, I ask them to start with what they call it, Camtasia. That's actually very nice. Okay. Okay, I think the Premiere Pro and After Effects is not really true. I just remember, because I started tech a little bit earlier than others.
Okay.
Immediately I left secondary school, my older brother gave me his old laptop. So a very few people, like few population remember Windows Movie Maker. It was in the old laptops back then.
Yeah.
So right before I entered uni, actually I started like messing around with that.
Okay.
So I think that actually opened my mind to what I expect getting into a professional field. But if you're getting into a professional field, if you're just starting, I advise Camtasia is very nice. It's very simple. Most of what you need to create intros is there, to edit videos is there, to add captions, that is subtitles, etc. is there. The brightness, contrast, saturation, all of that is there. But Premiere Pro and After Effects is mostly what they use for like high level editing, like Avengers. You're seeing build explosions, all of that.
That's when create all that.
Premiere Pro is mostly for sorting out the clips. But After Effects is where you add those effects, those special effects, 3D explosions, all of that. So that is how you enter.
That's a different skill set entirely.
Yes.
After Effects.
Yes.
And then make it realistic.
Yes.
What about animations? How do they fall into this?
Okay, so
like this very, you see the animations, you see Marvel animations.
Yeah.
Do they still use things like Premiere Pro?
Of course, yeah. So for animation, Adobe is still the owners of Premiere Pro and After Effects.
Yeah.
They actually have, the funny thing about Adobe, they gave us different animation software you can actually use, just to confuse us. I don't know why. We have Adobe Animate.
Okay.
So that one is for what we call frame by frame animation. Okay. So basically, frame by frame is each frame you're drawing it. I don't know if you have seen, like, if they are doing behind the scenes of animation, where it's as if it's pausing as at every single frame. It's
Yeah.
pausing.
Yeah.
That is frame by frame. You have to draw every new frame.
Physically draw it, or there's a computer that draws it.
You'll be the one to draw every new frame.
Whoa.
Like if
So
a
like a 10,000 frames.
Yes.
Just to get one punch.
That's why you see, like, for example, anime.
Mm.
A single episode can take months to animate.
Yes.
So, but there's what we call like IKFK rigging.
Okay.
You design the character in that shot once,
Mm.
and you kind of like set up bones at the different joints. Like for
Okay.
example, someone's arm,
Yeah.
at the wrist, the elbow, etc.
Yeah, I know that.
Then you just be raising it up and down.
Mm.
So After Effects is the like it does that a little bit better than Animate. Animate is for frame by frame.
Mm.
After Effects is for IK rigging.
Hmm.
So the difference is like each of them has like the situations you want to use them. Like for example, if someone is turning around, like you want to look behind you, you're animating that.
Yeah.
After Effects, you can't do that. You have to use Adobe Animate because you're drawing every single frame where the person is turning. But if maybe there's something in front of the character, he just wants to pick up what is on the table.
Mm.
Instead of having to draw all of that, you just draw the character's arm in After, like you bring it into After Effects, just make it pick it up.
Okay. I love this. So let's go to how you handle deadlines, tight deadlines, and client feedback. How do you handle that?
Basically, I try to handle it right from the start. I try to give, like, clients will try to have these crazy expectations. They can ask for Marvel level movies and say they want it in a week. You have to cut that expectation
With the budget.
exactly.
This is like talking about millions here, dollars.
You have to let them know right from the get go that that's not how it's going to be. If not, it will only bring, like, if you're too in a hurry, like, cause I notice many people that are starting up, you're still trying to like get connections and all of that. You just want to get the job.
Yeah.
So a client will be like, I want this done in a week. You'll say, yeah, okay, yes. The movie is 4 hours long. You say, okay, yes. And I have only 10K. You scratch head small. You're like, okay. So right from the get-go, I try to, it's best you set that standard for yourself. You let them know what and what is not achievable.
Okay.
So feedback, depending, because most of my jobs are usually like, if the job is like maybe a month long or 2 months, I like to give weekly feedback. Because the funny thing about like giving clients feedback, when you want to give them feedback, you have to prepare what you present to them, right? So there's what I noticed when I was starting initially, because I was too focused on, always making the client happy when I'm giving the feedback, impressing them. I can spend, like, if I'm giving feedback back then, 2-3 days, I can spend almost a whole day just preparing what I'll present. And that is basically cutting the 2 days I'm doing feedback, 1 whole day is for presenting it. So now I try to space it out. If it's something they need in 3 months, it can be every 2 weeks. If it's something they need in 2 or 1 month, every week.
Okay.
Just like that. Then the spacing, from experience, I know how long it will take me. So I tell them from the get-go.
Okay. So let's talk about how people in your field, especially you, how you stay updated on industry trends and techniques. How do you do that?
Basically, it's looking at other people's work. And there are different forums like Reddit, YouTube. There are channels, like I said, YouTube is actually very nice. There are channels like there's one I follow, Adeleke. That was mostly for 3D.
Okay.
I think he changed his channel name, but I'm already subscribed, so nothing there. So anyhow, Blender, yesterday he released a video. If there's a new update, he's talking about it.
Okay.
There's a new plugin, he's talking about it. If they used to spell here HERE, the update, they made a mistake and just said HER, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
So there are different channels, people you follow, that you won't be left out of the loop. And another thing is to be familiar with the work. Because there's one funny thing, like there are people who knew I was into animation. They have seen me creating cartoon animation characters and everything. And yet they'll see me sometimes, maybe I'm watching maybe an animated series or anime or movie.
Yeah.
They'll be like, you too like cartoon. It used to confuse me because it's just like a doctor now. You're like, you too like touching people, like opening people's bodies, or you too like medicine. Like, That's
what,
my trade.
That's your trade. That's what you should be
So
looking
the
at.
only way you can really like stay up to date,
Mm.
that is your field: video editing, animation. Different, and not just any random people. Maybe you watch a few of their videos, you see the quality, you follow them. If it's YouTube, subscribe, turn on notifications. If maybe Netflix is releasing something,
Yeah.
obviously you have to check it out.
Yeah.
Like one thing I like doing, like back then, Avengers and everything.
Yeah.
I was always checking like behind the scenes, they used to release it. You see like maybe the scene where Hulk was fighting the airship.
Yeah.
They'll zoom in and show like particles are flying. How they did it, they'll rotate, show slow motion, like how they. That was actually very nice. You actually be staying up to date to be setting the bar for you.
Okay.
But if you're creating and you're not engaging, then you fall
off.
Yes.
So what about collaborating with other team members, other people like directors, producers, and people like in your field?
Okay, so depending, like if it's a team, there are different. Like I mostly use Discord for teamwork, but there are different.
Yeah.
There's ClickUp, all sorts of like team. But
Yeah.
the point about we like graphics and a little bit those in programming too. All these fancy like you state your task, you click I've done 70%. Tomorrow you come, you say this is my accomplishment. All those typing, they don't really do that. So it's mostly like Discord.
Yeah, Discord.
Video calls.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe there's an update, you drop it in the Discord group there.
Yeah.
If you want to have a meeting, video calls, then each person obviously will set like they have their own goals and what they're achieving for that project. If there's any reason to modify that, maybe someone is ill, they want to move it to you, it can be dropped on the Discord call. So the main thing is to always have I usually use it like my system is for working, but my phone is for alerts. All this like
Okay.
I always try to have it connected to the internet.
That means you will need a lot of gigabytes or terabytes.
Not really. It's mostly like if you're uploading and downloading a lot.
If
like,
you're what about when you're rendering? Is that not?
No. You do that offline. You don't.
Okay,
need
you do that offline.
Yeah, you don't need internet for that. So it's mostly like if you're presenting maybe a draft to the client, and the funny thing about that, you can actually export it, like render it in a low quality, not really low, but you reduce the quality a bit.
Okay.
So if the highest quality is meant to be about 8 gigabytes, you can actually squeeze it down to 2 or 3 gigabytes. Sometimes even 1, depending on how you set it up.
Okay.
And send it to the client, and to be clear enough for them to view it without you needing to finish your data.
Okay, I understand what you mean. Okay, what's your experience with different types of video content?
Okay, so video content. Okay, let's say for instance, explainer videos. Something like like iPhone releases a new phone, you have to advertise the phone. So I mostly do that on Fiverr. Fiverr is a freelance platform, but I've had like a lot of experience there. It's actually very nice. You get to meet different people, different clients, and their different needs. For example, there are some clients that will say they want this strictly as cartoon characters. There are some that they'll say they want it as like live action, that is humans video.
Okay.
There are some they'll give you the script. Others they'll tell you to go and figure it out. So I think that
means you charge a lot on Fiverr then.
yes, depending on you obviously charge for your work.
Yeah.
So then there are others like, for instance, they have maybe fixed time depending on the platform they want to put it on. If it's maybe Instagram stories, if it's YouTube shorts, different resolutions and all of that. So they'll give you all that info depending on what they want to use it for or where they want to place it to.
Okay.
The length, the resolution, all of that.
They'll tell you the specs. They'll give you the entire brief.
If they don't know, of course, you just ask them what they want it, like what they want to use it for.
But usually, if it's for audio, it's WAV. For on Fiverr is WAV.
Yeah.
That's the quality.
That is lossless. Yeah.
Yeah. So for video, what's the?
Few people ask for AVI.
Okay.
But mostly their content with MP4.
Okay.
Very few people ask for AVI.
Okay.
That is the lossless video quality. But usually people are okay with MP4.
Okay. Lastly, well, what do video editors go for now? How much do they charge? How much do you guys?
I can't really start calling any exact
Give us a
numbers,
range.
of course. Yeah, that's what it is. So basically, it's the value you attach to yourself. That's the simple truth. When I was starting, of course, I was ignorant, desperate self. I've even done like some jobs, like you heard the 10,000 example I gave before.
Yeah.
I wasn't just making it up. That was the stupid me from back then. But I've also edited stuff. I think during that COVID lockdown period,
Okay.
Fiverr, someone just gave me a job. I was even actually surprised. There was one guy from Canada. He went, I think, I've forgotten the value then, but back then, $500.
Okay.
A video of 3 minutes.
Okay.
A video of 3 minutes, $500.
So
So basically, and there are people who actually make more than that. There are people who make less than that. So it's actually the value you attach to yourself and the nature of the video, what you need the video for, how long it's going to be, the time it's going to take, the effort you need to put into it. So that is basically what you decide. Like over time, of course, you build. You know how you build yourself. You know how much you charge.
Yeah.
But that is what will guide you to make that decision.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Eduardo SM, for your time and being part of
it's
today's
nice to
edition.
be here.
Okay. Thank you very much. So that's pretty